So I was having an interesting conversation with a couple of pro-black dudes, man. This is something I like to address because I think it's nonsense. Okay, they was telling me that the reason why certain low-income black communities that you have a lack of jobs is because of it's because of the religion. Yes, Christianity. Okay, Christianity. Yes, the church. And I find that funny. I find it funny because if you go back and you look throughout history, the Christian church is actually where a lot of young black men actually went to go get jobs because a lot of companies would actually go to these churches to try to hire black people because they figured like the dudes in the church was actually more respectable. But anyways, I've had a couple of people over the years tell me, "Hey, man, if you go in these neighborhoods, you see they got a bunch of churches there, and there's nothing else there, and they running the companies out." Yes, the Christian church is running the companies out of the black community. I mean, stop and think about that for a second, how logical that is. But a lot of pro-black says stuff that just don't make any logical sense. I mean, let's think about this, man. How many communities in Chicago, for people of other races, are Christian and they seem to have jobs in their community just fine? Okay. Okay. How many other religions? Look, you got Muslims who got mosques and they got jobs in their community. You can go across this planet and see people that have who have a different whatever their religion is, and they have their churches or mosques or meeting place, and they seem to have jobs in their community just fine. This is the only time I've ever heard this weird excuse or concept that we got a bunch of churches, so that's why we don't have no jobs. Look, man, I had a couple guys tell me, look, if you look at all these communities, they got all these churches, okay, and the churches are coming there and they're taking the land because it's cheap, and then the companies can't get the land. Okay, dude, do you stop and think and ask yourself why this land is so cheap? Why is the property value so cheap that these churches can get them? The Christian churches can go buy this land up. Is it possible that there's high crime in these communities, which is driving the land down? And is it also possible that these businesses don't want that land? They're not interested in it because guess what? They don't want to put their businesses in these high crime communities. Okay, let's look at Walmart. Walmart had just pulled some stores out of certain areas in the black community, low income communities. Now, why did they do that? They tired of people coming in there stealing their stuff. They're not turning a profit because people are stealing, stealing, stealing. Okay. They're tired of the flash mobs. Okay. They're tired of teenagers running wild like Lord of the Flies, tearing up their stuff. Okay. They're sick of riots. Yes, you heard me. They're tired of riots. People tearing up their stuff, stealing their stuff. They're sick of politicians not doing anything. Okay. Demonizing them, in fact. Okay. Brandon Johnson comes in and they start talking about young kids running in there tearing up people's property in stores. Well, let's not demonize the kids. Okay, the first thing out of his mouth, it wasn't like, hey, you know what? We need to do something about this. We need to correct the problem. No, just let's not blame anybody. It's a victimless crime, but it's not a victimless crime to the person who owns the store. Okay, yeah, it's crazy, man. These dudes go in there and they steal all this stuff. They attack people in these stores. They do all kind of stuff. And what does Kim Fox do? Does she prosecute anybody? No. So why would a store want to put their business in some of these communities? Okay, got nothing to do with no church, man. These stores don't want that property. They don't want to put their business there. Okay, that's simple as that. But let's even get more deeper than that. If you really want to start talking about the lack of jobs in the black community, okay, let's look at the fact, man, that the majority of jobs don't come from government. The majority of jobs actually come from family owned businesses. You can check that out. Family owned businesses. Yes. You see, these men and these women get together, they get married, they have kids, or relatives get together, some other form of relatives, mothers, sister, brothers, father, uncles, whatever. They open a business. They expand that business. Okay. That's where the majority of your jobs come from. Uh, what institute is falling apart in the black community? The family structure. Okay, you got these black men and black women. They're having kids. They don't live together. Okay, or you got a single parent household going on. You don't have a lot of men and women getting together getting married, raising their kids, pooling their money. Nah, that's not happening. You don't have relatives getting together, pooling their money, starting a business. Okay, that's where the majority of your jobs come from, and that's the thing in the black community that you're not getting. That's not happening. Okay, that's not happening, and that's something we don't want to. We don't want to acknowledge that. But no, that's not something we want to talk about. I can also talk about certain laws that have taken place over the last couple of decades that have made it easier for certain companies to get monopolies. Okay. I was actually looking at an interesting story where a ex-football player, I can't think of this guy's name, he got with a black woman who she had a lot of business sense. Okay. They were trying to get into the meat industry. They're trying to sell their meat products to certain stores. They got together, they got all this meat, and went around, start shopping at the different stores, and the stores wouldn't buy it because they only bought from these certain companies. Okay, they had to end up selling their products to the companies who already had a monopoly. Okay? But now we won't sit here and look at some of these politicians who we vote for and look at the laws that they pass that hurt us. No, we don't want to talk about that. We're not gonna sit here and say, hey, why did you pass this law here that makes it harder for a smaller business to get in there? Why do you pass these laws that make it easier for people to have monopolies? Okay, they make it harder for small family owned businesses to get started and get involved in this market over here. We ain't gonna talk about that. Okay, we're not gonna go in there and hold these politicians that we're voting accountable. We're not gonna do that. Okay, I'll tell you another thing: desegregation. Not that I'm against it. At one point you had a lot of black people who were doctors, lawyers, whatever, and they were forced to stay in some of these black communities. But when these companies came in, we desegregated everything. They could go out there and they can move to another neighborhood and they can work for a white owned company. That's just the way it is. Okay. Now, but the question is, why do these people not want to stay in a predominantly black community? Why do these doctors and lawyers not want to stay in these communities? Think about that for a second. Because of the crime, because of high crime, because you have too many black people in these communities who let their kids run wild, or they themselves like to act like demons. Okay, the best and brightest do not want to stay in these low income communities. Okay, and I don't blame them. Then you also had a lot of people who owned black businesses or whatever who sold their stuff. They sold them to white corporations or the people of other races, and they left those high crime communities. Okay, it's easy to blame churches, man, but it's so many different reasons why what you can look at. You can look at certain laws that got passed that make it harder for like certain banks. Okay, I heard a lot of laws that got passed hurt black-owned banks. Okay, but let me ask you this: in these black communities, why don't some of these people? What's up with the family structure, man? Why do you have so many single-parent households, so many men and women not living together, pooling their money? We gotta look at that. We have to look at that, dude. So many family members not working with each other to get together. Because if you can't say we don't have no money, because I see these dudes walking around with Jordans on and expensive jerseys and driving nice cars. Also, let's look at some of the other reasons, man. The decline of manufacturing jobs, automation, offshoring of jobs, and the impact of COVID-19 on the economy. So that's a lot to unpack. But I can't find anything that says Christianity or any other religion is actually the cause of the decline of jobs in the black communities. I don't think you'll find it. I think that's nonsense. But I think if you look at any other cause of the problem, it requires us to look at some of our behavior when it comes to how we behave, why all this crime is in our community, some of the politicians we're voting for, and also and the laws that they passing, and also, man, hey, how come we're not getting together building these jobs? And how come we don't have the strong family structure to pool this money and create these jobs? Okay. I think pro blacks don't want to look at that. They don't want to look at that because that means we have to take some of this blame ourselves and make a change and make a correction. Okay. We have to look at the man in the mirror and make a change. Okay. It's easier to blame religion. Easier to blame churches, but it's nonsense. Okay. Every time I hear that, it's just incredible nonsense. Like, supposedly from guys who are supposed to be intelligent, and it's like, did you do any research? What, man? Like, come on. Okay, but just my opinion, some thought on the subject.